I started this show in the late 90s. So I remember going back. I was a kid, I was going back into the record library, and I discovered, actually, weirdly enough, the third Alcatrazz album was the first one I actually listened to.
Oh, that's bizarre.
Because I didn't know who the band was. I'm like, I just knew Steve Vai and Yngwie played in it, so I pulled that record out, and I would go. We used to do these like public service shows, and I used to have to play one of those for about an hour.
Right.
So what I would do is I'd grab 3 or 4 albums. I'd go to the production room while that show was airing over the radio, and I'd go right into the room next door, and I would check records out. And I remember hearing that album, and then I remember hearing, the second album I probably like the best of the old stuff. Because I've always considered Alcatrazz to be like a tale of two eras, right? You have the new stuff and you have the old stuff,
right?
And I always get a lot of flack because I never have been somebody who has always been stuck on 1 or 2 albums. Like, you'll see these press releases, like someone will put an album out. Oh, it's the best album since this record came out. It could be anything, right? It could be any band. It could be, I'll give you an example. Like, people will say stuff like, oh, it's Metallica's best album since the Black Album, or since, Ride the Lightning, or something like that, because people get hooked on these records. But I'll be honest with you, as you get older and as you evolve, you get better at what you're doing. You become better songwriters. And I think there's a lot of bands, I think even in the case of you guys, I just think that a lot of bands that have been around as long as you, yourself included, I think some of these new albums, I think in many cases I like better than the old stuff. And even some of the re-recordings, I mentioned this, I actually reviewed Island in the Sun, and I just like the re-recorded one better than the original. Just my opinion, but I'm not afraid to say those things. Now,
and that's fine, and I don't take offense to it. I'm flattered. That first record, just being totally honest, didn't sound good. It wasn't produced well. The people that did it and the way it was done, the band performed. We played, we did our job, but oh my God, it was, in my opinion, it was a terrible sounding record. And it didn't seem to matter too much because people liked what was on there, and Yngwie and everybody did a great job, and they liked the record, they liked the songs. So,
sure.
And I've heard records over the years that I didn't think sounded good at all, but the songs were good. And that carried it. That carried the day. That was like, who cares what it sounds like? The songs are good. I mean, Iron Maiden, some of their records, and they didn't care about, they weren't hung up on sounding, like the newest, latest, greatest Pro Tools band, I call them. They're very raw, And if you put on, there's certain Iron Maiden records, you put them on next to another band of the same time period, and it doesn't sound as good sonically.
Yeah.
I mean, it's recorded well and all that. It's not that. It's just it doesn't have that same over-the-top glaze over it, that a lot of records have, with the perfect drum sound, the perfect samples they've triggered, and 15 layers of keyboards and 50 guitar tracks. Mm-hmm. That everybody went through that period, whereas there's not enough guitar, can't be enough doubles and triples and quadruples of the guitar and stuff.
Right. Yeah. And in many ways, though, the way a lot of those recordings sound, I couldn't imagine some of them any different. You brought up Iron Maiden, and it's interesting because I do these things called retro reviews. And I remember, I don't know what it was. People have been emailing me to do this. I had a whole bunch of people asking me, what do you think of Peace of Mind by Iron Maiden? And I thought to myself, you know what? That sounds like a great record to start off with. And, sonically, is it the best recording compared to some of these modern ones? Well, it's really a matter, like music, it's a matter of, it's subjective, because I could not imagine them making that album again with modern equipment. I think it loses something in a sense. And so, you have all these fantastic, emulators, and you have equipment, you could do everything in essentially with a box that you needed thousands of millions of dollars worth of equipment for. But I think sometimes these modern recordings, and keep in mind, I always talk about this, I get probably like 1,000 emails a week, and I have so many of these bands, whether it's a label, a publicist, bands I've never heard of, and you listen to them, and it's like, man, half these people use the same default settings that a
Yes,
lot of these plugins have,
absolutely.
and it sounds like garbage. And so, you know, in the old days, you really couldn't afford to make mistakes.
No.
You know, like now you make a mistake, I'm gonna just go delete it and cut it out. But you know, you can only splice a tape back in the day for so long, so many times, right? You get the little
Yeah.
blue tape and you put it on there to splice the tape. You know, and
All
then
my
too,
early all
yeah,
my early records, it had to be done, it had to be played
mm-hmm,
correctly.
yep,
And yeah, you can cut tape. I mean, Mike Stone, I worked with Mike Stone in the band New England. He did 2 records with us, who did all the Queen records. He was the
right,
engineer on all the Queen records with Roy
correct,
Baker.
yep,
And then Michael talked about the edits they did.
huh,
Edited a million edits on a drum track. Not because Roger Taylor wasn't a great drummer, because he is. It was because they would, you know what? Let's put that drum fill over here. Let's extend that chorus.
yeah,
It
no,
wasn't
I
like,
got you,
oh, let's get rid of those mistakes. Oh my God. It
yeah,
wasn't that. So there was some cutting and chopping going on, but nothing like people do now.
no,
Oh my God.
not at all,
And I'm guilty, not, I don't have to do it on our records, but I've produced some people nobody had ever heard of, and worked with a lot of artists where I'll just be an engineer, just record somebody. And oh my God, I've got to chop it and time correct everything and pitch correct everything. And that to them is the norm. That's what they're a little bit younger, and that's what they think. Well, that's what we do, right? That's
yeah,
what you do. I go, no, you rehearse and get it right. Well, we can't rehearse. And I've gotten this several times. The band will tell me, I said, you guys need to rehearse. And they go, well, how much did you rehearse in Alcatrazz? I said, 5, 6 days a week,
yeah,
all day. You know, we beat that stuff to death. And in New England, the same thing. We killed ourselves getting those songs
sure,
right and being able to play them right. These new bands go, well, but I work, man. I work at Kmart during the, Walmart. That I have to go to work there, and then I'm home and I have to drive 30 miles over here. I said, well, then you're never going to make it. You have to find a way to put more time into the music and quit worrying about working. Because at some point, that's what we did. You step off the dock. You go, well, it ain't going to happen if I keep working at Walmart. So I got to dedicate this to the music and find a way to pay the bills.
well,
Like I drove a taxi
yeah,
at night.
well, where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah.
You know, I
And
mean,
yeah.
I work a normal job like a lot of people do. I find a way to do the production for the show. I find a way to put this show on, and I juggle a lot of things around. But if you really want it to happen, you're going to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how bad you want it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's how, and it's, is it something like this is an outlet for me? So this is more or less like I do this as my main outlet now.
Right.
And so I enjoy, I get excited. You know, I don't care if I work 10, 12 hours. I get excited to come and do this.
Right.
And you have to, and when it comes to music, you have to have that like excitement level to really get into it.
Yeah, I get young bands that ask me that they'll say, "Oh well, this is going to be cool, so we'll release this." And then, I've had a guy actually ask me, "So how long does it take to make it?" And I go, "Well, I haven't made it, so I don't know." "Oh yeah, but you've been on MTV and you've." I said, "Well, that doesn't mean you made it."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "I don't know what making it is. I don't know. I just play music. I like doing it, and I hope it's popular enough that I can play bigger places or more places or whatever."
Right.
And they go, "Yeah, well, I'm going to do this and do that, and I go, what I tell them is, you get into music because you love it. You can't live without it. It's like a woman. You got to have that person. I can't live without her.
Yep.
Once you get in, then you figure out how to make money with it. But don't get in it for the money."
Mm-hmm.
Big mistake, and so a lot of people do. They don't do it because they love it. They get into it. They don't love it when they get into it. They do it because they think, oh, well, I'm going to be famous, and and none of that means anything.
Hey, it's Tony here from the Metal Command Show. I want to thank you for watching this portion of the program. Since 1998, I have hosted the show, which started off as a radio program and is now into the podcast format. So I want to thank you for watching and or listening. And if you want to support the program, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell to be notified anytime I do post any content. A lot of you have been supporting the show and really helping this show grow, and I cannot do it without all of you. So with that said, thanks for watching. Stay metal.